Hey folks, Zach Osterman here. I'm Insider Indianapolis Star after Indiana 98, Bayamon 48, Bayamon 49. Forgive me, I don't have a box score right in front of me. The point is, it was a comfortable victory for the Hoosiers tonight in their preseason opener against Universidad de Bayamon here at the Coliseo Guillermo Angulo in Carolina, Puerto Rico. Listen, not too many conclusions to draw from this. The competitive gap was just too wide for that. I thought Tucker DeVries played well. I thought Lamar Wilkerson played well. I thought Reed Bailey played well. I thought Trent Sisley played really well. I thought Josh Harris had some really good moments. What you're looking for more, I think, in games like this is a recognition of, who has a good feel within the offense, who has a good feel within the defense, who's communicating well, who's moving well. I thought you could tell, for example, that Tucker DeVries was demonstrably Indiana's most experienced player in this setup, that Lamar Wilkerson is the kind of player whose teammates are very much going to defer to him, are going to look for him, are going to try and push the offense through him. I thought Tatum Connerway was maybe the best two-way player on this team in terms of the impact that he was making at the defensive end of the floor, as well as at the offensive end of the floor. Sisley really did have some very good moments. I think in particular, it felt like he got a couple early shots to fall, and once he did, it just felt like everything else was a little bit more natural. Everything else was a little bit more sort of confidence-driven. He moved well without the ball. I thought he defended well. Again, you maybe feel like he was defending better when he was put in one-on-one situations where it was just about sort of his individual ability against the cover across from him, rather than maybe reflective of what he was doing within the whole setup. But all you can ask from a freshman in a setting like this is to just go out, play hard, and make plays, and he did that. He did those things, demonstrably, and I thought Indiana was a lot better for it. I think we would be remiss to mention Alexa Restitch, who just joined the team a few days ago. He did make the tour. Darian DeVries, he said it's almost like catching him up quickly. He missed all those practices in the summertime, and really probably hasn't had much practice time with this team in general. I mean, he may have had maybe one practice in Bloomington, maybe some time down here, but ultimately he probably was getting a lot more meaningful basketball experience with this group tonight than he has at any other point in his obviously brief Indiana career thus far. And I think, you don't want to draw, therefore, too many conclusions. It was noteworthy how much point guard he was running. I mean, he was at the point the entire time he was on the floor. Anytime Indiana had the ball out of bounds after a make or a foul or a turnover or anything, Restitch was the one hanging back, taking the inbounds pass, bringing the team up, getting it into its offense. So if you want to know what position he's going to play, it's pretty clearly that one. But I just thought it was, it really did feel like, if we're talking about first impressions tonight, and I encourage you to go to indystar.com/sports. We have a live blog that was updated routinely throughout the game. Already we have some player-by-player first blush thoughts, first impressions from every single scholarship player that played tonight at indystar.com/sports. We'll also obviously have an insider up late tonight, if not then tomorrow. I'll be writing on Trent Sisley tomorrow. But one of the things that, if we're talking about sort of who left good first impressions, it was the players you'd expect: Bailey, DeVries, Wilkerson, Connerway. If you're talking about sort of interesting tidbits, I thought Restitch was a big one, because it really did feel like this was going to be very valuable for him, because he has missed so much time in the last 2 months, and that's, everyone knew that. That's not anyone's fault. Everyone knew that he had his commitments with Serbia in the FIBA tournament, and he was always going to get here at the end of the summer. But if Indiana can put him in that kind of situation where it's just sort of like learning on the fly, it's not structured, it's not practice, it's just, hey, go out and try and, figure this out with your teammates kind of in real time. I thought that was really encouraging. Sisley is going to get a lot of attention tonight, and justifiably so. But I thought it was really encouraging that Alexa Restitch just sort of got extended run, especially in the second half. Darian DeVries pretty much pulled his starters about midway through the third quarter, and they didn't see the floor again. I thought it was good for Restitch to just get a prolonged period on the floor, even if he got a little tired, to just sort of almost kind of immerse himself in it in real time after obviously missing a lot of time in the last few months. Don't want to draw too many more conclusions from a game like that. Ultimately, let's be real. Indiana's probably going to see much sterner competition on Saturday night when they play Mega Superbet. That's the team from Serbia that they played in Atlantis 2 years ago. It's Nikola Jokic played for Mega. So did Nikola Jovic. I think Nikola Topic did too. That is an outfit that comes over every summer and plays college teams in settings like this. So they're not going to be put off by Indiana's athletic level, by Indiana's depth, by Indiana's skill. And so that's going to be a sterner test. And that's why I think tonight feels more important for someone like Restitch or someone like Sisley, because it's a chance to just, like I said, immerse yourself and get that confidence level, get that comfort level, and really feel good about yourself, frankly. Build on your confidence as a freshman. Give yourself some good, firm sort of foundations to build from on this tour, regardless of what happens from here. Indiana will kind of go radio silent for the most part in the next couple days. As I said on an earlier video that we did, an earlier tour diary that we did. This tour, I think, for Darian DeVries is as much about what's going on off the floor as what's going on the floor. I think in terms of the basketball stuff, the practices were the big emphasis, the big plus for him taking this foreign tour. I think in terms of actually being here, it's more about the time that his team spends together, whether it is on the floor or off the floor. And so I think you're probably going to see a lot of social media, things populate on social media in terms of, looking at, where this team is going when it's not worrying about basketball and just some team bonding activities. I think that's going to be kind of the focus the next couple days for Indiana. One quick note, Jason Drake, the Drexel transfer, who was held out of the open practice we saw last week. He was in practice gear, but he was on an exercise bike. He is not here. DeVries wouldn't specify beyond saying he has a lower body injury and that Indiana will have a further update, kind of later on. It is worth noting Jordan Rayford, who is injured, and Nick Dorn, who's injured, and both of those injuries, it's been suggested, are longer term. They are here. So you get the sense that Drake's injury is going to be a little bit different one way or another in its nature and its complexion to what Dorn and Rayford are dealing with. So we may have more on that in this trip. If we do, we'll get it to you. But for now, please, as always, like, subscribe. These tour diaries, I hope they're a lot of fun. I hope they're informative. I hope everybody's enjoying them. We'll have a lot more here on the YouTube channel going forward this week. A lot more at IndyStar.com/sports tonight, tomorrow, all through the week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for reading. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Zach Osterman. We'll talk to you soon.